Videos are showing us for the first time inside the home where those 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death. The chilling videos depict the 3 young women all laughing, making jokes, enjoying life as roommates and friends. Tonight, police have not announced any suspects or major leads. Our Fox News crew on the ground in Idaho reports police took 2 boxes out of the home today, but otherwise there was little activity at the crime scene. Yesterday, police temporarily expanded the crime scene tape to include a wooded hillside behind the house. FBI agents and Idaho State Police officers were seen trying to peer through the 3rd-story windows where a pair of pink boots sit that Maddie Mogen was pictured in. One possibility, investigators were determining if the killer could have watched the students through those windows. Former Assistant FBI Director Chris Swecker says it's possible the killer was able to easily murder and subdue the students in their sleep, perhaps leaving behind very little DNA.
What I'm getting, at least from what I've heard, and I'm not on the inside, is that this could very well have been a stalker or a random, person who, like Ted Bundy, who pursued a target of opportunity, 1 or all 4 of these victims.
On Monday, the mother of murder victim Ethan Chapin spoke at a memorial for her son.
Today we're here to honor the life and legacy of our son and brother, Ethan Chapin, one of the most incredible people you'll ever know.
And tonight, Moscow police say they looked extensively into tips that Kaylee Goncalves had a stalker. Investigators say they pursued hundreds of pieces of information, but have not been able to identify any stalker trace.
It's amazing. We get our first look at the house, Matt, and you see the different levels they're on, and that sliding glass door that could be pivotal in this case was kind of on a raised area, so we go into the 2nd floor, which kind of brings more confusion about where, if he entered the house at that thing, why he went upstairs, or did he go upstairs first and then go downstairs and leave the bottom floor alone, right?
Yeah, and what's also interesting is police are clarifying. They say that one of the roommates, one of their phones called 911 for an unresponsive person. And we keep asking this question, who do they think was unresponsive? Right. Because the crime scene probably was so bloody. Were those victims left inside of their bedrooms with a closed door for you to think a person's unresponsive, not dead? Yeah, and you could see the blood. The pictures show the blood coming out actually the side of the house. Matt, stand by if you would. Let's bring in retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent James Galliano. James, I know you might have heard, some experts saying that this now might be a stalker or someone who had, targeted them or might, kind of going back to the Gainesville murders back in 1990. You say you believe this is a crime of passion, right? And they used an edged weapon, and it always leaves a lot of clues, a lot of DNA. Do you think police have hit a wall because we haven't heard anything about any potential suspects?
No, Trace, I don't think they've hit a wall. I think they're going to be very selective about what information they want to put out. Look, they haven't even announced a person of interest or a potential suspect. They haven't given a description of anybody or anything like that. Could they have somebody in their sights? Yes. Could they have more than one person in their sights? Yes, but they're being very selective about that. I think also, to your point, the question about a crime of passion, I think it was P.D. James that once famously said in the murder room, every murder comes down to one of the 4 L's: love, lust, loathing, or lucre, dirty money. So police are going to be looking at it from that perspective. Was this a crime of opportunity, or was there some intimate knowledge or intimate relationship here between the killer and the 4 kids that were brutally murdered?
And we all talk about evidence, James. Everybody's looking at this. Now, a forensic professor at Jacksonville State said this to Newsweek about the DNA. Quoting here, "If you don't have anything to compare it to, meaning the DNA, it's not going to help me very much. So the key here is if the offender has ever given a DNA sample somewhere else or it's been collected on them, and then you get a hit within the system on that subject, if they did, in fact, leave viable DNA behind." Would you agree with that assessment, James?
Yes. So DNA has been around for a short period of time, much shorter than, say, blood typing. So since about 1986 or 1987, we've been able to make positive matches on people through DNA. Now, when you do DNA analysis, there's 2 different ways to collect it. It can be core ordered if somebody's a felon in the prison system, or you could do it voluntarily when you're chasing down your ancestry and trying to do it that way. Look, I would suggest here too, the DNA that's going to be at that scene, obviously a big portion of this, an edged weapon. The police are saying it was a fixed blade. There's going to be a lot of blood. But in these type of crimes where somebody is doing intimate piercing of people's flesh, they could also cut themselves too. So police are going to be working on that as well.
And Matt Finn, we now know there were more people inside the house. Is there a worry up there among officers that the scene might be compromised?
Sure, we've heard so many experts say that it might be contaminated. Yeah. And it really does beg the question, what was happening that they called more people to this house and said, we're calling 911 for an unresponsive person? Were they not able to see this bloody crime scene or see dead people right in front of them?
Yeah, 9 days, James, 9 days later, if you're in charge of this, what do you want? What do you want to see? What are you telling your people when they go inside? What are you looking for?
Sure, two things. One is you got to go do good detective work. You've got to reach out. This is the 21st century, so there's digital exhaust left behind by cell phones, by going through an easy pass. There's lots of things, opening up a laptop, things like that. You've got to do all the link analysis there. The second piece of that is obviously the crime scene that you referenced, and it's going to take a long time. There are 4 victims here, so there's going to be a lot of painstaking work ahead of them.
Yeah, and still, people wonder how the two